The Corvathian Science Council had studied 17 different species across the galaxy, documenting their physical and psychological limits with clinical precision. Each test subject had eventually reached their breaking point, the moment when survival instinct overcame willpower, when the mind surrendered to preserve the body. It was a universal constant, they believed, until they encountered humanity. Dr. Zektar adjusted the neural monitoring equipment as he observed the human specimen through the reinforced viewing panel. Subject 7742, designation Marcus Chen, sat motionless in the testing chamber, his vital signs displaying on holographic screens around the observation deck. The human had been subjected to 47 hours of continuous physical and mental challenges, far exceeding the endurance records of any previously tested species. "Impossible," muttered Dr. Velshan, the lead xenobiologist. "Look at these readings. His muscle tissue should have failed 12 hours ago. His neural pathways should be shutting down non-essential functions." The testing chamber was a marvel of Corvathian engineering, an adaptive environment that could simulate any condition imaginable. They had subjected Marcus to extreme temperatures, sleep deprivation, physical exhaustion, psychological pressure, and sensory overload. Each trial was designed to push him beyond his limits, to find that crucial breaking point that defined every species they had encountered. Marcus stood up slowly, his movements deliberate despite the obvious fatigue. Sweat covered his face, his breathing was labored, and his muscles trembled with exhaustion. Yet his eyes remained focused, determined. He approached the latest challenge, a complex puzzle that required both physical dexterity and mental acuity to solve while balancing on an unstable platform. "He's been at this for 6 hours straight," Dr. Zektar observed, reviewing the data streams. The Xylanthi broke after 2 hours on this same test. The Morgellians lasted 3. Marcus's hand shook as he manipulated the intricate mechanisms, but he didn't stop. When he failed, he reset the puzzle and tried again. And again. His fingers were bleeding now, raw from the repeated attempts, but he continued with methodical persistence. Dr. Velshan leaned forward, fascinated. "Observe how he's adapted his approach. Each failure teaches him something new. Most species become increasingly erratic as fatigue sets in, but this human is actually becoming more efficient." The hours stretched on. Marcus completed the puzzle only to face the next challenge, a memory test requiring him to recall and reproduce a complex sequence while maintaining physical exertion. The Corvathians had designed it to be impossible after such prolonged stress, but Marcus approached it with the same unwavering determination. What drives them? Dr. Zektar wondered aloud, studying the psychological readouts. His stress hormones peaked 18 hours ago, yet he shows no signs of surrender. "Our models predict complete mental breakdown at this point." Dr. Velshan pulled up comparative analyses from their database. "Every other species we've tested shows a consistent pattern. Initial resistance, gradual deterioration, then capitulation when self-preservation overrides goal-oriented behavior. But humans—" She paused, examining the data streams. "Humans seem to operate on different principles entirely." Marcus stumbled, falling to his knees. The monitoring equipment registered dangerous levels of dehydration and muscle fatigue. For a moment, the Corvathian scientists thought they had finally found his breaking point, but Marcus placed his palms on the floor, took 3 deep breaths, and pushed himself back to his feet. "Remarkable," Dr. Velshan breathed. "He's not ignoring his physical limitations, he's accepting them and continuing anyway. This isn't mindless persistence. It's calculated endurance." The testing continued through another day. Marcus faced obstacle courses that left him bloodied and bruised, intellectual challenges that should have been impossible for an exhausted mind, and psychological pressures designed to break even the strongest will. With each trial, he adapted, learned, and persevered. Dr. Zektar began reviewing historical human records the council had gathered. "Look at this," he said, projecting human documents onto the main display. "Their history is filled with examples of this behavior. Explorers who walked thousands of miles through hostile terrain. Athletes who competed through injuries that would incapacitate other species. Survivors who endured conditions that our models say should be lethal. They have sayings about it," Dr. Velshan added, reading from cultural databases. "Never give up. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Fall 7 times. Stand up 8. This isn't an individual trait, it's embedded in their entire species psychology." On the third day, something unprecedented happened. Marcus began talking to himself, but not in the delusional manner they had observed in other test subjects. He was coaching himself, breaking down challenges into manageable steps, maintaining morale through self-directed encouragement. "I can do this," he said quietly, approaching yet another seemingly impossible task. "One step at a time, just like Dad taught me." His voice was hoarse, his body was failing, but his resolve never wavered. Dr. Zektar realized they weren't just observing individual endurance. They were witnessing the manifestation of an entire species' evolutionary psychology. "They don't see failure as an endpoint," he said with growing understanding. "For humans, failure is just temporary data. They use it to inform their next attempt." The Korvathian Science Council made an unprecedented decision. After 72 hours of continuous testing, 3 times longer than any previous subject had endured, they stopped the experiment. Not because Marcus had broken, but because they finally understood what they were observing. When the chamber doors opened, Marcus looked up expectantly. "Is there another test?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper, but his posture still defiant. Dr. Velshan entered the chamber personally, something she had never done before. "No more tests," she said gently. "We have learned what we needed to know." As Marcus was escorted to the medical bay for recovery, Dr. Zektar updated the official report. Human endurance cannot be measured by conventional standards. Their capacity to persist appears to be limited only by death itself. Recommendation: never engage humanity in a contest of wills. The galaxy would learn this lesson well in the years to come, as humanity spread among the stars with the same relentless determination Marcus had demonstrated in that chamber. They never quit, never surrendered, never accepted defeat as final, and the universe was never quite the same.